Coming up next on Arizona Horizon, how to keep politicians honest at a time when Arizona's been ranked the most corrupt state in the country. Hear about proposed guidelines for Arizona's school report cards and a new study on the impact of climate change on North American birds. That's all next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Eight, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon. I'm Ted Simons. A new Harvard survey of State House reporters ranks Arizona as having the most corrupt government in the nation. Here now to talk about efforts to keep politicians honest is Tom Collins. He's Executive Director of the Citizens Clean Elections Commission. Good to see you again.
Hi, Ted. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you. Before we get to this Harvard study and all this business of corruptness and corruption, let's talk about a ruling by a federal judge regarding Arizona's campaign finance laws and how much of an impact it's going to make on political campaigns and on what you guys do.
Sure. Well, that's a good question, and folks who've been reading the paper lately will know that on Friday, a federal judge, Judge Teelborg in the District Court of Arizona, released an order where he essentially declared a definition that's in the Campaign Finance Code that defines political committee to be vague. What the upshot of his order was that is there's a sentence in there it's a very long sentence. I mean, candidly, it's a 183-word sentence, and he said that he doesn't think that an ordinary person can understand what that sentence is getting at. Now, what that means is a couple of different things. You know, we're still parsing the order. We've been working with our attorneys to sort of understand precisely what its impact is. But I can tell you a couple of things. First of all, you know, the state's going to appeal, and there's, you know, if you see headlines or folks who say this is a sea change in campaign finance law, a district court judge's order really isn't a sea change, can't be, because the U.S. Supreme Court precedent controls campaign finance law. So, you know, we already know that disclosure laws and the kinds of things that Arizona campaign finance law does are constitutional. So, you know, the fact the sentence is too long doesn't mean that the whole system is is suspect, if that makes any sense.
So basically, it doesn't necessarily mean that we could see future no disclosure requirements for raising and or spending from political committees. It's just what is a committee.
I think that's right, and I think that there's a good avenue for appeal if the state wants to do that, and I think the state will. But the legislative solution is equally simple. I mean, he said the sentence is too long. Well, it's very simple to break up a sentence. You do need to just put in a few periods, make it a little more simple, have a few subparts. It will still be a sort of a checklist, I think, of if you're this is what happens. If you're this, that is what happened. What's happened right now with the way that the law has been amended is kind of that list is kind of smushed together in one sentence. And
right.
That's really what the case is about. So the legislative solution is really simple. And so our concern, I think that the folks who work in campaign finance are only concerned is that this becomes used as some excuse to really do damage to the system that's unnecessary. What it really needs to do is you need a simpler definition, but that still captures the same information.
It's still a moving goalpost for you guys, though, correct? I mean, you still got to figure out what exactly will a committee become before you start enforcing and looking over these things.
Well, that's a very good question, and there are certain laws that apply to political committees. There are aspects of the Clean Elections Act specifically that clearly don't apply based on the committee status, and I can give you two examples. The limits on campaign finance that apply to both non-participating and participating candidates in the public finance program. So all state and legislative candidates are covered by clean elections in one way or another. And that applies to the candidate by the terms of the act. It doesn't apply to the committee. We can enforce against candidates directly. Likewise, with respect to independent expenditure entities, folks who are out, you know, you hear about dark money, folks out doing those negative ads, well, they owe reports to Clean Elections at least of what the expenditures are. And the Clean Elections Act is very plain that any person who makes an expenditure over a certain amount of money owes Clean Elections a report. And, you know, as Mitt Romney once famously said, corporations are people too, my friend. So that means that we don't care if you call yourself a committee, a corporation, a trust, or an unincorporated association, or, you know, Joe Smith. If you make those expenditures, you owe us a report.
So basically the definition is on a separate track as far as what you're concerned about.
That's correct.
Okay. I still want to get to this Harvard study, but you mentioned the fact that the candidates are, whether they're clean candidates, whether participating candidates or not. We saw that now with Tom Horn. Your thoughts on... Some folks thought that he got off light. Some folks thought that your penalty against the two corporation commissioner candidates, they were fine. That wasn't enough. How do you respond to that?
Well, Ted, I think that's a good question. And I think one of the things the commission's tried to establish over time is that is that these laws are designed to get the public information and to help root out corruption. So that's what campaign finance limits are there for. That's what the disclosure obligations are there for. So in both cases, we thought that, and I think the commission concluded that the conciliation in the Corporation Commission case, we got amended reports from those folks. We got them to pay a fine. In Mr. Horn's case, because there were two investigations going on, both through us and then through the Attorney General's office having referred it to the Gilbert Town attorney, the conciliation specifically says that he'll have to make amendments to his campaign report if ordered. He had to pay a fine. And Mr. Horn had argued that only significant campaign work on state time was a violation of the law. But in the conciliation, he agrees that state employees cannot campaign on state time. So we think that the public's interest is served on a lot of levels. The point is that the goal of the Clean Elections Act is not just to punish. We're not there to just extract dollars. And if you think that a $10,000 fine paid personally by an elected official for a violation, in a conciliation, doesn't have a deterrent effect on behavior, I think that's wrong.
I was going to ask about that. It sounds to me like it's almost more information as opposed to deterrence.
I think that we have hit the right level in terms of deterrence going forward. I think that the next person who gets in Mr. Horn's situation, if they feel like they're going to cut corners or try to abuse their office in some way, they're going to get scrutiny from Clean Elections that I think that is meaningful. And I think that just trying to extract the maximum dollar fine when there's so much else in the agreement in terms of the other investigation going forward, in terms of the fine itself, in terms of ratifying for, if anybody had any doubt, that Clean Elections in fact is there as an independent voice to enforce these laws. I think the value of that far exceeds putting some dollar value, and the purpose of the law is to get compliance, not to extract punishment. And I think the deterrent effect is there.
Okay, before you get out of here now, let's get to this Harvard study ranking the most corrupt states. And Arizona #1, and these are State House reporters that were surveyed here. #1 for officials trading favors for cash and gifts. I'm assuming there's a Fiesta Bowl element in here somewhere. But overall, what do you make of this? I mean, Arizona's the most. Illinois, Michigan.
Sure, and I think if you look at the study, which I've read a bit about, I mean, I do think that there's a reputational aspect here. I mean, if you're interviewing reporters and folks who are know about Arizona, Arizona does have a history that's involved some pretty significant corruption. I mean, Clean Elections comes out of the voters' reaction to ASCAM, which was the proverbial duffel bag full of cash for votes. I mean, that was the real deal.
Yes.
So that's something that's happened in Arizona, and I think that kind of stuff sticks around, and Fiesta Bowl adds to it. So I think that what it tells us is that this is a real concern for the folks who are covering the legislature, and therefore it's a concern for the public, and it's a demonstration of why having independent enforcement of anti-corruption laws like Clean Elections is important.
All right, good to see you again. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much, Ted.
Tonight's edition of Arizona Education looks at big changes coming to the state's public schools. Starting this spring, students across Arizona will take a new test to measure their progress. Also, the State Board of Education is looking at new ways to hold schools accountable. We'll hear more about that in a moment, but first, producer Christina Estes shows us what's in store.
To me, they seem the most important.
Every year, Arizona schools receive a letter grade of A through F. They're designed to help parents make decisions and hold schools accountable.
Foreshadowing?
Each school is evaluated on its students' academic growth and how many pass the Arizona Instrument to Measure Standards test, known as AIMS.
The challenges with that system, especially at the high school level, is that the system measures one test, 1 point in time, at one grade level. And so it is a very narrow snapshot of a student's progress.
Dr. Althea Allen is Associate Superintendent for the state's biggest high school-only district. Phoenix Union has 16 schools with more than 27,000 students. She's looking forward to next year when a new test called Arizona Merit will replace AIMS.
The exciting thing about Arizona Merit is it's not just that at the high school level, one test at the end of the year. It's multiple tests across multiple subject areas at the 9th grade, 10th grade, and 11th grade. So we're going to have a much better picture of a student's true progress over time.
The change comes as the State Board of Education looks to change the way schools get their letter grades. Rather than rely on scores from one test, the board favors a plan that would award points based on the number of advanced placement and career and technical education classes, along with students' scores on the SAT and other tests.
If kids are truly going to be successful in college and in career, we have to have multiple measures to show that we're preparing kids for those endeavors.
As Arizona introduces new ways to test students and grade schools, Dr. Allen hopes one group will get extra attention.
I'm not concerned about the level of our curriculum, how our kids will do. Our kids, we'll prepare them and they will do just fine. And our letter grades, we will be able to explain what they represent. But teachers work hard day in and day out. And so I guess my only concern or fear is that when something new comes about or they feel like it's thrown at them, they feel defeated. And they work very, very hard. And so we're going to have to help them navigate through this time.
The State Board of Education plans to ask lawmakers to approve a 2-year transition period for the new school accountability system. And here now with more on the approved A through F guidelines is board member Jaime Malera. Good to see you again.
Good to see you too.
And let's talk about, let's get some more information here as far as what the committee and the board looked at and what the committee and the board decided.
Well, the big thing was looking at, as we're moving into this new standards and the new assessment that the board just picked, was making sure that we didn't lose the innovation and flexibility at a local level that we want to see happen. So part of what the board did, I think it was contrary to a lot of the rhetoric that's going on right now about Common Core, because we said we need to have essentially a statewide audit, which this statewide assessment will do, so we can measure apples to apples. So that if we really want a marketplace, we can do that. But we also looked at how can at a local level, and based on academic information, could schools, school districts, charter schools, select their own areas of assessment that would be an academic framework, but that would be part of the grading system.
Are there specific diagnostic ideas floating around or you're looking at?
Absolutely. So for instance, you have certain schools that might have a science emphasis. And right now we don't have a science statewide assessment, which is unfortunate, but that's not part of the new standards. So what we're saying is that if science is that important and that's going to be an emphasis of that school, and they use AP exams and of course APs in high school, or they use the ACT, or some schools use Galileo as a product that measures success, then they should be allowed to do that, and they should be allowed to assess that. But then you essentially have this statewide assessment that could be an audit of that, if you will, to show that if that school is saying they're doing fantastic, the statewide assessment will help to mirror that.
Now, are you saying, though, that different districts can use different diagnostic material and with the state kind of overseeing everything?
Yes, and that if there's a framework, and that's what the state board would have to do, to say, here are the certain types of assessments that we would allow. Of course, It couldn't be just Jaime's assessment system that I would produce, but it would have to be valid, reliable assessments. But the fact of the matter is, let's allow for that academic creativity. Like, for instance, we have a lot of great career and technical education schools that they teach in innovative ways. Well, let's allow that to happen. Let's allow school districts to design their own assessments, but you still have a statewide assessment that can verify how we're doing.
Okay. Now, also in the report, or at least what I saw from the committee's recommendations, use only academically relevant information. What does that mean?
Well, so for instance, dropout rates, making sure that we have an opportunity to look at course study that's based on core academic materials. I referenced science, for instance.
Right.
Other school districts want to emphasize history and civics as a big piece of what they want to teach. But it has to be on academic focus.
And and again, we saw it in the package, and we hear a lot about this, the concern that a single test overwhelms everything else. What do the board look at and consider regarding having a test being the alpha and omega, if you will?
Well, but that's the point, is that so that if you have multiple assessments, it gives parents a better feel of what it is that school is trying to accomplish. And again, you allow for that school or school district to have that kind of creativity if they say, we want to have an emphasis in this particular type of academics. And we want to do that. We are good at it. At the same time, we can provide the mathematics and language arts what the state was requiring, but we want to also capture this focus of academics that's important to us.
And as far as an A school, I mean, the grading itself, I mean, would have to be considered. I mean, an A school needs to really be an A school, doesn't it?
In my definition, an A school, absolutely, an A school needs to be where a parent understands that if my kid goes through the system, is in an A school district or A school and goes through the process, graduates, they should not need remediation when they go on to an institution of higher education.
Right.
Right now we have about 55 to 60% of our kids in core academic areas, if they go onto our university system, they need some kind of remediation. And if we're serious about career and college ready, that really shouldn't happen.
And if you're serious about grading and being fair about this,
Right.
growth has to be involved, does it not?
And growth is absolutely involved. And one of the things that we capture is this, because let's say you have a teacher that gets kids that might be at the 20th percentile in reading in third grade. But over the course of that year, they get them to the 45th percentile. So they've made tremendous strides on behalf of that student in that class. But under the old regime, a lot of teachers would be penalized because they're still below the mastery of the standards. We need to take into consideration how much that teacher has grown that kid and those students academically. And that's why those pieces have to come together.
All right, what's next in all this? And have you heard any response now from Superintendent-elect Diane Douglas?
Not much response from her, but I'm heartened because a lot of the groups that helped put this together, which included a lot of business groups, Arizona Chamber of Commerce, Greater Phoenix Leadership, along with the Charter School Association, along with School Boards Association, groups like Lisa Keegan's group, A's for Arizona, have rallied around legislators and the new governor talking about why this is important. And again, getting away from the rhetoric and the politics around Common Core and saying, let's design an Arizona-centric accountability system, a meaningful accountability system, and let's move forward with that.
And but the bottom line is the school accountability system does need reforming, and it will be reformed.
Yes.
All right. Good to have you here.
Good to be here, as always.
Tonight's focus on sustainability, we hear about Shift Happens, a 7-year Audubon study on birds and climate change. The research finds that climate change is becoming the #1 threat to birds in North America. For more on the study, we welcome Tice Saplee. She's the Audubon Arizona Director of Bird Conservation. Good to have you here. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you. It's great to be here.
7-year scientific study on climate change. How was this conducted? What did you look at?
Well, Audubon is an organization composed of people who love to look at birds, and we have a long tradition of counting them during the Christmas season, the Christmas bird counts, and also breeding bird surveys where volunteers have been collecting data for over 40 years. So we thought, let's look at that data, combine it with climate information, mostly looking at temperature and projected precipitation, and see what the future might hold for our birds when we modeled this out to 2080.
So what did you find?
Well, we were startled. We looked at 588 species and discovered 314 of them may be very adversely affected by a changing climate.
Now, adversely affected, obviously we see that the rising areas as far as where habitats are. We've seen this with animals, mammals, we've seen it with birds. Adversely affected, but still able to survive?
Well, this is where the shift piece comes in. So our models are building scenarios where a bird might try to suffer in place, might adapt in place or might use those handy wings and find a new location further north, further inland,
Yeah.
to find the resources they need.
And so what did you find? What were the results there?
Well, the results are that about, I think it was 314 species total, and of those, I think it was 147 that occur out of that 314. By 2080, the models would say that they will lose 50% of their current range, either for breeding or for wintering.
Is that because there's only so far of a northern latitude you can go to still be a viable bird?
Well, that can happen to some of them, and a few species that we modeled, our prediction is they may be extinct if they get pushed far enough north, and the big key is whether or not the habitat that they require, the grassland, the forest, is there as well.
I noticed the report also talked about climate strongholds for birds. What are those?
Yes, this is the idea that there may be places in our continent that will harbor these birds and help them adapt in place or even find the resources they need if they shift. I was very intrigued to find that our state, Arizona, may end up being a very important stronghold for birds, both for wintering and breeding.
And how so? Give us an example.
Our grasslands, and we may find that we will have more grassland habitats. Our deserts, many of the desert birds that occur here actually have a positive future under our models, where they may very well expand their distribution.
Yeah. As things dry out and get warmer, I guess that would make sense, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
What about things like the bald eagle? Those sorts of birds, the birds that we all recognize and we all see out there.
Yes.
How are they impacted?
Well, the bald eagle is one of the ones we're concerned about. We've just celebrated the great victory of restoring this bird from the brink of extinction once. With a warming climate, we well know what the water issues are here in our own state. Rivers and streams with the fish that these birds need to eat may diminish. The places where they would nest may then occur further north, and there could be some uncertainty for this species.
I know it's a 7-year scientific study here. I know U.S. and Canada, kind of a joint project in some respects, and you've got all your folks out there watching and counting and these sorts of things. Is this a gradual change and shift, or are you seeing things moving quicker than you had expected?
Some birds, things are happening already. The hooded oriole is already shifting northward in the state of California. Robins are shifting. We're seeing birds that used to fly further south that don't go that far anymore. They're staying in a more northern climate because the conditions are suitable for them to stay put. The real key to all of this is whether the birds can find the food resources that they require. And what ties into it is what we call phenology, which is the timing of when things bloom or when they breed. And many of our birds spend the winter in tropical climates in Central and South America. And if they arrive to feed on nectar or find the insects that are keyed to a flowering plant, and that plant flowered maybe 2 weeks earlier, they might be out of luck. And they need enough fat reserves to get to where they're going to raise their family.
Interesting.
So that might be part of what could happen to some of these birds as they hit a bottleneck. There's no fast food.
Yeah, gotcha. Well, so, and obviously we're talking about bald eagles and the mountain bluebird and these absolutely gorgeous creatures out there. But for those of us who just like looking at birds in our neighborhood, or a red-winged blackbird, or a grackle here, or the Gila woodpecker there, all these birds that most of us see in the area, are they affected?
Some of them may do quite well, and this is where Audubon feels there's hope, and that we can do a lot to help these birds out. So if you landscape your yard to be attractive for the birds, not only the ones that are here all year, but perhaps the ones that stop off on their way, north and south, we can do a lot. Audubon, Arizona, is putting burrows along the Rio Salado for burrowing owl. And that's a bird that's projected to be climate affected.
Interesting.
And so we're building them homes.
Well,
And
that's
so
encouraging at least.
Come on out and help us build an out-home.
All right. Well, I just may take you up on that. Well, it's disconcerting in some respects, but it's nice to know there are people out there watching and monitoring and looking out for these birds. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate
Oh,
it.
my pleasure.
And Thursday on Arizona Horizon, a prosecutor and a defense attorney discuss a new report on the number of repeat offenders in the state's prison population. That's Thursday evening, 5:30 and 10, right here on Arizona Horizon. That is it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great evening.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Eight, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.
Helios Education Foundation is proud to underwrite Arizona Education, a 12-month series highlighting the issues affecting college and career readiness of our students. Through a decade of strategic partnerships, Helios is working to change lives and strengthen communities through education.